Good morning and warmly welcome to this trend talk invited by Drees and Sommer in Sweden. We have the honor of following up our previous trend spotting seminar that was held earlier this year, and we will soon get back to that. We inviting you to this event is the company Drees and Sommer Sverige, Drees and Sommer in Sweden. And I was going to say that some of you might know the team from the old company GoToWork that we were renamed from last year. So super very welcome. And today we're going to talk about buildings awarded for success. But before we kick off with that, just some few words. We have a mission. We have united in opposites to create the world we want to live in. That's the purpose of Drees and Sommer. We are not only a Swedish company. We are founded in 1970, partner managed. We have more than 5,000, I would say more than 6,000 employees. And we are spread in 60 locations in 50 countries at the moment. We are delivering consultancy services and implementing anything regarding project management and real estate with the clients in the different sectors and clusters of industry, infrastructure and real estate. In Sweden at the moment, we are some 25 people, so a small chunk so far of the big chunk of some plus 6,000 colleagues. I'm greeting you to this. I am Karin Ståhl, having the honor of being the managing director for Drees and Sommer in Sweden. A short recap. I can see some faces in here that I know also attended when we greeted you in mid-February to Stockholm's Handelskammare, presenting the 5 trends of 2024 when it comes to sustainable buildings and offices. And you then met some peers of ours. It was Tobias Galtz, Karina Söderlund from Mälardalen University, Mino Tegethoff, Marco Abdallah, and also Peter Robertsson, who we have in the panel in the dialogue today. You will meet all of these guys and girls later on, one each time on today, and then the following 4 breakfast seminars that we will throw during May and June, all from this location, and hopefully all in the Teams webinar format as well. So today we are aiming for buildings awarded for support, and a short recap as well on that, with Peter Robertsson being one of Drees and Sommer Sweden's change managers, a senior consultant, having had the responsibility to also to compile and put together this morning's program and agenda. But we don't only meet Peter here today. We have online Michael. Could you wave to the audience? Yeah, briefly, Michael, who are you? Just one sentence.
One sentence. Good morning, everybody. I'm Michael Kottke. I'm the managing director of Macom UK. We are part of Drees and Sommer for a little bit more than a year, and we are specializing in technology consulting. Thank you.
Thank you. Warmly welcome, Michael. Stick to us. On my left-hand side, Stefan, briefly.
Yeah, Stefan Ulf, interior architect, sitting at the office in Gothenburg, and employed since December last year.
I am Alexandra Santacruz, and I am head of real estate advisory for Drees Sommer Sweden. I'm an architect and an urban designer.
And I'm Peter Robertsson. I'm a senior change manager, and I'm, according to Karin here, responsible for this group of people. And I'm going to talk a little bit more, and you're going to get to know both me and my colleagues during this session.
Great. Warmly welcome to all of us. And we've been actually thinking a lot after the Trendspotting seminar in February, talking about buildings awarded for success. what did we actually mean, and what are the trends that we see, and how can we all come to a future state where the buildings really support what we want them to support, the business and the people. And we actually think about how to get the wheel spinning. We talked about several things, Peter. Could you maybe help me to recap?
Absolutely. Give me the clicker and I will get on my way.
Perfect.
I used an analogy, and I think that those of you that were there might remember, but the analogy was about how to make great, wonderful movies winning awards. And the analogy is not so far away from actually doing anything, I would guess. You need more than one piece to get things together and be the very best you can be. And it begins with the screenplay, the idea, basically. And that's the why of any organization. But it's also, in the end, having a robust plan and a vision of where to go. And it needs to be compelling not only to employees, but to customers as well. And if it is, it's a good start to get going towards that winning the award movie or business. The next thing was people, of course, employees, actors. No wonderful movie is a wonderful movie with only great actors. It needs both great actors, personnel, staff, everything around it is needed. And it's the same for any organization, of course. We need great people. They need to be trained and engaged and skilled, and they need to stick around for a while. And the third thing was the responsive and the adaptive leadership, which would be the director role. You need a director knowing where to go and how to get there, being able to engage people, being able to do the things that is the idea behind the organization. So realizing that vision, realizing the why, so to speak. And that is being responsive and adaptive. And you need to be that, and you need to be that true to the organization's idea as well. So don't be something that you are not, I would say. If you want to be a drama movie, you have to be that. You have to stay in that genre. And that same goes for organizations. And I think today, when it comes to organizations and buildings, we all try to do a little bit of the same. And I think that one thing that we could possibly talk about a little bit today is that, okay, how do we make it our own? How do we make the idea fit for us, so we don't build the same office, because the same office will not fit for all people. Just imagine how it would be to have, I don't know, it doesn't really work to have Al Pacino, if you know him, in a comedy. He's not good at that. So know your people and know your organization is crucial to knowing how to actually build and make the interior, I would say. And we will get back to that probably. So I'm a little bit on a thin limb now, I realize. The last part, and the reason why we are here, is that we need to talk a little bit more. We need to talk about everything here, of course, but we are going to talk a little bit more about the design of the office, the interiors and the outside and the buildings. I said the last time a little bit briefly that, yeah, we need flexible, effortless, and accessible offices. Like with any movie set, you need a surrounding or a setting that is fit for the movie, of course. You choose scenes and sceneries that is appropriate for making the movie. And the same goes for offices. They should be located where the people you want to hire are located, unless you're a hybrid in some degree organization. And you might be more or less hybrid, depending on what you do, of course. But this is also something that needs to be unique for you. You need unique for your organization. I think that's one place where many go wrong. We look at this place and think that, yeah, this is wonderful. I like this. Let's build something like this. But I think it needs to begin with the people in your organization and the vision and the idea and the prerequisites you have for your company to do whatever you do, actually. Because that's something that I meet in my role as a change manager, that people or the organizations are trying to make things fit into the people instead of the other way around. So I think we need to think where we start with the idea of what we do, actually. So I've been thinking a lot about this, of course, and that's my job because I meet the challenge every day with customers that trying to fix things that are not working. Sometimes it's physical, sometimes it's people-oriented. But in order to fix this or talk a little bit more about it and elaborate around it, I need expert help. So that's why the idea came that I cannot sit here for 40 minutes and just talk about more about this. People are going to get a little bit bored. So I brought in some friends, Karin, to help out with this. And thank you for making that happen, I would say. So that was what we talked about, basically. So who are my friends and how can we help work this out?
Yeah. And Peter, those 2.5, 3 months that's passed since February, has things changed, or are we still in the same? Have we revealed any new insights that we could sort of shift trends?
No, not really. My biggest dream is that after this day, everyone here realizes that we need to think bigger, we need to think greater, and we need to think more about what we really need to do instead of thinking about what we can do or what we have money for, because we need to think in the long run. So I think that we need to have broader visions, broader ideas on how to integrate the new way of working with the new way of offices, the new way of building things, because all these things have to fit together, and I think that they don't most of the time. So no, nothing has really changed, and still a little bit too much of a debate on whether we are working from home or not, and it shouldn't be, because it should be all about how we actually do things together in the optimal way to make to have well-being, productivity, and flourishing organizations. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, and I think it's great that you said this about the buildings and the people, and of course we were a bit coordinated. You could click once more, Alex. And then we brought a quote from one of the big guys, Mr. Winston Churchill himself, that in 1943 he said that we shape our buildings, thereafter they shape us. So this is also about the chicken and the egg, what came first and why do we actually do all these things. So at the next slide on the spinning wheel, we are today, this morning, gonna fill out the different areas that surround buildings awarded for support. And in people, we just a bit name the engagement, well-being and productivity. And with that, looking at the places where everything happens, we have then brought Alexandra to the dialogue today. And so what's your perspective on this, what Peter said, and the full scope?
Hello, good morning. Yes, well, I hope that after I show you the ideas I have and the things that I work with, that we get some perspective, and we think, after this, we say, yes, we actually can start from the another end. We don't have to start from here. So I would like to show you some of the things I work with. I'm also an expert in disability, in accessibility, actually. And as we know, we work with ESG, environmental social governance, but we tend to forget what the two other words mean. Social governance. We think only about environment when we think about environmental social governance. And I actually work with the word social. And, we got from UN 17 global goals that we follow, as you know. And there are two of these goals that I work dearly with, and I actually stand for very much. And one of them is number 8, decent work and economic growth. And, the reason because we work with these goals, let me go back, is because we see a link in between, like these are called the sustainable global, development goals, yes. And the aim of these goals is to create peace and prosperity while we tackle climate change. They don't say we tackle climate change and then we handle people or prosperity. So somehow peace, prosperity, and climate change are linked. They are entangled. So this is what I want to show you. As we go to social part of environmental social governance, we have two goals that I think is important for us as designers, as we sit in our desk and try to do the little things. How can we zoom out and connect what we do with the bigger goals? United Nations has given Sweden a job, and this is actually embracing goal number 8 and 10. And number 10 is called reduce inequalities. And actually, it goes by the name Leave No One Behind. I love this goal because I work with accessibility, I work with hospitals, I work with office, I work with people that actually have a permanent disability or have a temporary disability. So as we see this whole picture, how can we, as we tackle climate change, see if it is also something that we can do in the work we do? In Sweden, we have the anti-discrimination law. And this discrimination law, we say, okay, how is this shaping offices? But actually, this is very important. In Sweden, in 2021, a memorandum policy came out to follow this discrimination in Sweden. And this was by the government given to 28 agencies in Sweden to have a strategy for how we are going to abolish poverty among people with disabilities. And this is a democratic goal, it's an important goal. I mean, you should be able to support yourself and support your children, even if you have a disability. But this is where we are. It is still not possible. So, myndigheten för delaktighet in Sweden is the kind of like following up how all these agencies, I only have some of them here, are doing this strategy, how are they working, what are they doing to include people, and every year they have to write a report and show results. So I have the privilege to work with two of these agencies. And the first one is Ekonomistyrningsverket. And they say, yeah, okay, we got this task, universal design in the office, but we actually don't know anything about universal design. We want to help, but we don't know how to do this in our, oh, sorry, that was what's on. But we don't know how to do this in our working space. So they started by giving employment to 3 people from Samhall. For those who don't know what Samhall is a place where people with disabilities can apply for a job. And they had 3 people that had, one was in a wheelchair, an accountant, and a guy that was not taller than a 3-year-old, and somebody also with a hearing impaired. And I said, great, this is a great start because we can actually just tailor this office with the people that you have employed and try to have a strategy with them. And what they say is like, we don't even know how to tackle disabilities because no one of us has one. And this is the reality. It's not that as a designers, we don't want to help. It's just that we don't know what is the need. So they say we need these people so that they can help us, they can show us how it is to have a disability so that we can work on these strategies. So the first thing that we worked with was safety. So if you have a hearing impaired, most probably you don't hear the fire alarm. So we install lighting so that this person, in case of fire, can also see the lights everywhere and understand that the fire alarm is on. This is for the person with hearing impaired. For the guy that is very short, we say, okay, he needs to be able to read the exit plans, and the exit plans usually are like a 160 high. We need to have exit plans that are his high, as long as fire extinguishers, blankets, safety for him. And for the person in the wheelchair, of course, if there is a fire, the elevator won't work. We need a 2-way communication so that this person can wait somewhere to get help. These are just little things, but they mean a lot. They mean a lot because they show you care. You're actually willing to do the little things for them to get a job. And of course, we went through the whole thing in BBR, you know, the rules of housing, and these are just little details, but it started with them wanted to open the door, an invitation for work. The next one I worked with was BoVerket. BoVerket say the same. We have a task. We want to talk about universal design, but we don't want to talk about paragraphs and write more books that people have to read that nobody reads. And we want to do something else. We want to do a movie or 2 movies and actually engage people in how it is to have a disability, so that we want to show the humanity of it, so that architects, designers, and property owners feel engaged and want to help and feel like this is a democratic goal, this is something that we all should do. So by the direction of Victoria Buskvist in BoVerket, I got the opportunity to create 2 movies. One movie was with Gert Wingårdh in the National Museum, showing how he worked with universal design at the museum and how light, just working with light, was the way for him to create how to orient yourself in the building. Using very simple things like light and not having all these signs, go to the right, go to the left, letting light lead you. That was one of the points, but he had many other points. You can see the movies in BoVerket Universell Utformning if you want. But the second movie is the one I want to get to. I got to do a second movie with Maya. She's my old colleague. She is an engineer, a mother of 2 boys, a Paralympic winner, several-time winner with many gold medals, and has represented Sweden 11 years. She is also blind, entirely blind, and she happened to be my colleague. And I say, Maya, you're not going to believe this. I have to do a movie, and I think you would do great in this because I want to talk about universal design. So, and Maya goes along to do this movie, and the things that she brings to me as we go along and talk about designing offices, life is this. You know, she say, everything here is fixed for me to be able to work. We work at the William Sales Partnership, VSP. And she said, but there are little things that could make my life easier. For instance, I don't want to go through all the waste sorting, stop putting my hand and guessing what kind of garbage do we have. Can you please use some braille so I can just see what's paper, what is glass? The same for the milk. I either have to taste them all before I know which one is the one I want. And the cookie jars, I have to go through all of them before I realize which one is the cookie I want to eat. So these was the little things. But then she came to me and said something else. Light, I don't see anything, but I can feel light. And light is a great way to guide myself through a building. So it's the same as Gert said. So use light as a guide, let the light guide you in offices, because it's a way for me to know where I am in space, where I can find myself. And also like the little things as color. She used to be able to see as a child. She remembers color, and she say, I can go into a room and feel color. I can feel if it's a warm color, I can feel it is a cold color. And color is a way for me to remember. Even if I cannot see it, I can memorize things in my mind with color. So these are the little things that I want to leave you with. Leave no one behind, you know, goal number 10. We have to start from the end. We cannot start from here. We have to engage with people that have a disability in order to create inclusion. It's very hard as a designer to start from where we are, because it's not that we don't want to, it's that we don't know how to.
Thank you, Alexandra. And you're sort of painting the palette of the different tools or the different mindset, we might say, that we do have. It actually doesn't sound like rocket science. It's just what you say, start from the end and then work the way backwards. If you do one click, we can see how we are now then starting to fill the outer layer of the spinning wheel with the ESG, environment, social and governance. And for sure you will all revisit the webinar when we post it later on in social media, so you can then read all the wording that we have put into it. Thank you, Alexandra. Bridging over to to you, Stefan. How do we create flexible, sustainable, and inclusive workplaces?
Yeah.
Could you
Okay.
give us some light on
Yeah.
this?
Yeah, Stefan, good morning. I will start with a new study that Kristina Bodin Danielsson at KTH made about post-pandemic office work. And it shows that almost 50% of the companies that was in the study didn't reach 40% attendance at the office. It was, I believe it was 53 companies with over 500 employees in the Stockholm area, and their policy was absolutely much more than 40% attendance. So how do we get people back to work? That's a big question, because this could impact negatively on the organization and its work, according to Kristina. But remote work is here. Remote work is here to stay, of course, as you already have seen. So it's important to offer people the possibility to work from home or other locations, but within a specified range. It's also very important to use flex time and the possibility to, or trust time as we call it, to choose when to go to work, and so you can avoid rush hour, for example. But also in a specified range, because if you only use whips, as Kristina was talking about, I believe you also need a lot of carrots so that you can get people, so you can attract the people you want to, and getting people back to work. And then, as an interior architect, I've been working a lot with pre-studies, and it's important to create offices that are with alternative work settings, as socializing, collaboration, and focusing areas for I have to check in for accommodate different work settings. The second part, sustainable practices. It's very important, of course, to have an energy efficiency at the office using LED lighting and smart ventilation systems, and use energy resources, renewable energy resources. And a more low-hanging fruit is to reduce, to promoting recycling and composting. And green design is not only about making green spaces with a lot of plants. Of course, it's nice and it's good for the air quality, but it's also to use eco-friendly materials in creating and in construction and furnishings, but also to reuse old furniture and encourage to buy recycled furnitures. The third one is about inclusion, and it's, as my expert colleague Alexandra have been talking a lot of. It's very important because it's a very neglected area but it's very important to implement policies and programs to promote diversity, equity, and inclusion. As architect, it's important also, of course, to make accessible to employees with disabilities. And it's also very important with work-life balance, which is also a part of the inclusiveness, and to support the employees' well-being by wellness programs and things like that. But if I would give you one piece of advice, it would absolutely to be to carry out a pre-study for avoiding repeating past mistakes. And for making all these changes, it's very important to implement technology integration, such as collaboration tools, virtual meeting platforms, and smart building systems, which my colleague Michael Kottke here are going to talk more about. Yeah.
Thank you, Stefan. And I think it's nice sort of that the interior architect, among other skills you have, sort of already tie together the flexible work, the sustainable practices, and the inclusiveness that we also heard from Alexandra, and even with the work-life balance. Actually, as we are talking in our expert talk today about the trends for 2024, we then also must be super humble, because these things, the ESG is not trending, it's a fact. Health, wellness, also a fact. And this with the supportive buildings are for sure also a fact. Continuing to fill with the inclusive, flexible and sustainable workplace that you talked about. Thank you. Bridging over to you, Michael, having listened into the dialogue so far, could you maybe help us with one piece that can a bit glue things together from another perspective? Are you ready for that?
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Karin. And firstly, again, good morning, everyone. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning. Thanks for having me. And also thank you, Peter, Alexandra, and Stefan, for already sharing some very interesting insights on what should be done to make buildings more supportive in regards to both people and place. What I would like to do now is take the next 5 minutes or so to add the technology layer around our discussion here to complete our wheel and hopefully get it to spin as well. And the question I want to raise in that regard is, how can technology create more purposeful workplaces? And maybe to start with a discussion, rephrase the question slightly and ask, why do we even need more purposeful workplaces today? And to me, the key reason for this is the changing expectations of employees today. The office, as we heard previously, is no longer just a place to work. Yeah, you can work from anywhere today. The office needs to offer an added value and serve a purpose so that employees, A, actually come to the workplace at all, and B, like to come to the workplace too. The office needs to give them something they don't have at home or anywhere else they're working at. And in the context of technology, this means the technology in the office needs to be better than at home. Employees are looking to do their work more efficiently, more seamlessly, and more flexibly in the office. And technology, particularly now in our hybrid working culture, plays a very crucial part in achieving this. But the question is, how do we achieve it? What should good and future-proof technology design provide to create more purposeful workplaces? Well, I've got about 3 elements to this that I would like to show you. So let's look at the first one on the next slide, please. And my first recommendation is make technology enabling. Technology in the workplace should be there to enable employees to produce better results. It's there to support your employees. So making technology enabling needs to start with the people. And firstly, understand their requirements, their ways of working, the use cases they want to see in your supportive building, and then build and integrate the place and technology around it to create a seamless working experience that addresses their specific needs. Now, once this is understood, you can create, for example, flexible spaces shown here on the presentation that support a variety of different use cases, from informal meetings or town halls on the lower left-hand corner, for example, to more interactive brainstorming sessions or management briefings on the lower right, all the way to more engaging and AI-controlled hybrid meeting spaces where the participants interact very naturally with each other. And I guess the point I'm trying to make here is you can do a lot with technology today. The technology in principle is there to support everything, and there are lots of options to choose from. But the key to a truly supportive workspace is tailoring the technology to the needs of your people. It's all about bringing together workspace strategy and technology as equally important and integral parts of your supportive building design. Yeah, so making technology enabling is all about understanding your people's requirements and a comprehensive strategy. But there is a little bit more that I'd like to show Karin as well. Can you go to the next slide, please? And that is make technology immersive, which is the second characteristic of good technology design that I would like to touch on today. Immersive in this context means merging the physical and the virtual worlds together in the workspace to increase natural interaction between people and technology. And what I certainly don't mean by this are the typical magic words at the start of a video conference call that I'm sure every one of you has at least said or heard once, and these magic words are, hello, can you hear me? Okay, so that's not immersive, and certainly not as it should be either. Immersive design bridges the gap between technology and the space, so the interior design of the place it is installed into. And it should be applied to promote interaction between your employees and technology in any given space, whether that's in the integrated hybrid meeting room that you can see here. It could be a relaxation room to enhance the employee well-being through a combination of mood lighting and sound, for example, as well. Or it could perhaps be even in the reception hall of a corporate enterprise on the left-hand side, where high-end audio technology is used to guide visually impaired employees to where they need to go in the building, which is a good example of how immersive technology can be used today to promote inclusion in the corporate world. Okay, so I'm conscious of having some time left for questions as well, so we are approaching the end of my presentation already, but I would like to bring up one final item for your consideration that's important in this regard as well. That is, make technology automated. Now, this is where it gets really interesting and a bit more complex too, but I won't go into too much detail on this. What it means is automation basically makes technology intelligent. Or even human, or what we perceive as being human, by linking multiple systems together through the exchange and interpretation of data. Now, artificial intelligence is, of course, the prime and most advanced example of automation, and currently generates a lot of interest and, to some people, some very valid concerns as well. And I'm sure we could easily host a separate webinar just on AI, but I'll skip it today in the interest of saving time, because I would like to bring up one more example of workspace technology automation that presents a more ESG-related use case, which is energy management. Now, audiovisual and communication collaboration technology is historically known for being very energy intensive, but through automation and smart sensors, it is now possible to detect user presence in any meeting space in the building, for example, and turn off the equipment automatically when the rooms are not in use, to help save energy and costs over time, of course, and contribute to meeting corporate ESG standards. There are many, many more use cases to talk about or develop individual, but we are now at the end of my slot and the technology parts of the gear wheels on the next slide, Karin. So I was hope to be able to share a few interesting insights into how technology today can make buildings more supportive and can make the workspace more purposeful. And with that, I will hand back over to you, Karin. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for the guidance into the last third part of the technology. I have a couple of follow-up questions to you so far, but I would just reach out to the audience in the room. I don't know if we can manage questions from the virtual room, but we can manage questions from the real room. You may raise your questions either in Swedish or in English, and we will repeat them from up here. So what do you say, Karin? Yeah, there's one. Should we take it now or? No, keep it. Yeah, we have one question from the digital room. So soon. Michael, you are sort of a lot, of course you are active on Swedish ground as well, but you having also a bit more international perspective, even though we are an international company. I know that you fly in and out of UK and Germany and other countries. So far, what you have heard when it comes to the technology perspective, how we have filled in with our presentations, do you have any sort of out of Sweden reflection on the dialogue so far?
I think what's most important is to understand that delivering a supportive building and a purposeful workspace in the future requires actually all these gear wheels to work seamlessly together. I think the key to a successful office project deployment is bringing together user experience, design, architectural design, technology design, project management. So all of these services to actually, deliver a comprehensive and consistent building that takes into consideration all the different stakeholders and all the requirements and needs of the respective stakeholders as well. I think that's probably what I have not seen in the Swedish market yet. So as bringing everything together. It is something that is being used elsewhere already, but I think it might be something in that combination that might be relatively new to the Swedish market, which is obviously, a great opportunity for us all to explore further, I think.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Michael. And looking at you and the rest of the gang here, do you think that we have filled enough to get the wheel spinning?
Well, I think that we at least have started to get it going. And I think we can talk a lot more, as you might probably have heard and seen here. There are eagerness to talk more about this topic. So I think we're on the way. And I would say that one thing to keep remembering is that if you want, the wheels to be pumped with, so I think that leave no one behind is a beautiful thing to keep remembering, because it's all about that. And inclusion. And I think that if we do think about that, we are better off in realizing what we need to do.
Good. I know that we have one question already.
20%. So these oversized offices, do you have any insights on how to tackle that?
I have something.
Yeah, you can repeat the question, Alexandra.
Yes, the question here was about oversized offices when, offices are full like ours yesterday, and on Friday, most probably it will only be me. But, we actually work with smart buildings. And part of working with smart buildings is to have these people counting, those sensors, and that actually accommodate the ventilation. That's only one thing that we work with. I know that your question is going more towards, the rental agreement and so on. But actually, this is something even for the rental agreement, because if you can adapt the ventilation system for 100 people, but later on during the week for 20 people, you're actually saving money. And so these kind of sensors, we do smart buildings, and we actually work with many property owners that see the need now a lot. We were recently in one that is almost empty on Fridays. So how to actually save some money on that. But I don't know if you have something else to add to the oversized office. I think it's just like for you.
Well, I think that any idea is as good as any, but I think one thing that we can need to remember, because I disagree a little bit with what Stefan said. He said that we're gonna get people back to the office, and I said no, but let's not. Let's do what we need to do instead, because it's for some it's a better thing to actually work somewhere else at times. So I think we need to adapt and realize that let's improve everything instead at the office, at home, and so on. And I'm pretty sure that future buildings will serve more purposes than just workspaces for office people, because way of working is also changing. So we might be sharing workspaces with other categories of people in the long run. That's that's my guess. I have no idea if that's going to be the future, but that's one scenario that we might be seeing. And therefore, I think we need to think in a broader sense of how we develop office spaces and all spaces going forward. We need to think broader and more creative than we have been doing, because the old solutions will not work for the new problems.
Yeah, and maybe we all remember actually in the beginning of 2020, pre-pandemic, there was this report launched from Ingenjörsvetenskapsakademin, and people from different parts of our business took part in that one, saying then, pre-pandemic, that only 10% of the full accessible time of offices in Stockholm were utilized then. So if we utilize 10% of the total square meters we had some 4 years ago, how few percentage could then today then be utilized? That's a question that we can dig further into. I think we will look at Karin and see what we had from the virtual room.
Yes, these videos are actually available at Boverket. Om ni googlar Boverket universell utformning så hittar ni 5 filmer. Det finns en med Gert Wingård och en med Maja Reichertz. Så Maja Reichertz är hon som berättar om gestaltning, hur det är att röra sig i stan som blind, how is to be blind and move around in the city. Is actually quite interesting to listen. I think every designer, every architect should listen to this, because as I say, you don't know the experience of someone else until you actually hear it, and we all should know how it is to navigate a city and a space when you don't see.
Handicap do Gert Wingård have?
Repeat the question.
If Gert Wingård has a handicap, he's a disability. No, he does not, but he did work very hard creating universal design in the reconstruction of the National Museum in Stockholm. And the National Museum in Stockholm has become a symbol of inclusivity after the renovation. Yeah, so, you know, it has become, it's an example to the world of what you can do in a building after you restore it, and how inclusive it can be. So also watch the movie as he tells the secrets and the details and the very subtle sensuality. He talks about sensuality in the world of how to feel, how to use your hands, how to get knowledge through breathing in and feeling light. And it's very, very interesting also as a designer to see how these soft things that we have around all the time can be applied in architecture.
Thanks, Alex. I was thinking, Stefan, Michael said that we are maybe not, I didn't say as developed, but we don't use this integrated approach as much. We have it in our spinning wheel with the ESG and people taking place and really see it start in the end, and then get everything sort of planned from the user experience perspective. You mentioned the pre-study phases, Stefan, and the importance of sort of looking holistically on all these things. Have you seen any sort of trends this year that we might dig deeper into tying the different knots together from the beginning?
Yeah, I can see that the leadership are not listening to the floor. They really want people back to work. So even if I propose them to not have 80 or 90% attendance, they don't listen to that, because they still, in a lot of companies that I've been working down pre-studies with, they really want, they believe that people are not working when they're not at the office, but people that is very important, that are very volatile, that they tend to quit that kind of work and start work in other places instead. So it's important to have these carrots, as I was talking about, and not only whips. Whips is very easy to force people back to work. But even if they do that, why do they have attendance lower than 40% then when the policy is 80%? Maybe that's a little part of the question that you were answering. Asking. Yeah. Sorry for my very.
I just want to add something that Michael told us last time. Offices have to have better technology than the one people have at home, so that you can bring them to job. If your plan is to bring them to job, offer better working spaces than what they have at home. Faster internet, better lighting, better screens, better of everything.
Better everything, yes. Also thinking then, Peter, about the dialogue that you and I have from time to time, not only you and I, but sort of holistically with this, where can we meet, say the employees and the employer in the dialogue about how we shall sort of what the framework for our ways of working should be. How can we sort of get closer to each other so we don't also far away in the dialogue? Should we be hybrid, only remote, on-site? And, we talk a lot about these things.
Oh yeah, we need to continue to talk about it, obviously, because it's perfectly okay to disagree. We should and have to, because that's when we evolve and do better things. But it begins with getting to know your people. So I think Stefan was talking about it as well. Get to know your people, and because they have the answer, they already know what they want, all right. But we're not listening because we're not asking the right questions. So I think we should start doing that first, and that would be a good way to get going. Because when we have our dialogues, you get to know how I think, right? And I get to know how you think, and that's a good starting point. And we might not agree on everything, but it's moving us forward into something better for both.
Thank you. And you saying starting point, and I'm saying ending point, and these sentences from you in the very end, sort of wrapping our hour off this morning. You have visited Drees and Sommer in Sweden, talking about buildings awarded for support. You know that you will be here next Tuesday again on the next topic with our colleague Tobias Goltz. I think you will be on stage as well, Alexandra, talking about urban development for care. And then each or every second week until sort of midsummer, we will meet up here. If you want to know more, you know where to find us. I think we shall give Peter, Alexandra, Stefan, and Michael big hands, applause. Thank you for coming today. Thank you for listening in, and thank you for coming here. See you again. Bye.